In your book, you talk about the immigration system and the extent to which it is really not working. I'm wondering, how would you go about fixing it to really harness the potential of new Canadians?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a two-track policy. One, we are the per capita leader in terms of mass migration in the world. We accept more immigrants on a per capita basis than any other country. That's a good thing. It's an area of public policy making where we're actually bold. It's an area where Canadians arguably have said, we're not a military superpower. We certainly aren't a green superpower, but maybe we're going to try to be an immigration superpower. The problem is that we know poverty rates are rising amongst newcomers. They increased from roughly 1 in 10 newcomers living in poverty in the 1980s to almost 1 in 3 by the last census in 2006. That was during a period of great economic expansion when the poverty rate amongst the Canadian board declined from 17% to 11%. So we've got to understand that in terms of skills accreditation, in terms of integrating newcomers into the workforce, we're not doing a great job. It's much more talk and a lot of less walk. So we've got to learn how to walk our talk on immigration. But that's part of it. I think the other part of it, again, is to go back to this notion of a more sticky citizenship, a citizenship that rewards newcomers for forming a lifelong attachment to Canada, putting down roots in Canada. That's why I think we should tax non-residents on their foreign income. The United States does it. It would be a great way to deter these citizens of convenience who live abroad permanently, who have all the benefits of Canadian citizenship, health care, subsidized post-secondary education, which they can get in a matter of months after returning to Canada, but contribute in no substantive way to this country. And it would also deal with a lot of people who are walking around with Order of Canada pins on their jackets, but are, for taxation reasons, are non-residents. I mean, that's scandalous. So let's start taxing Canadians on their foreign earnings. Let's also, really question whether dual citizenship is something that's good for Canada. In my book, I argue, give immigrants 1 generation to be dual citizens. We want them to bring those trade connections from their country of origin back into Canada. We want to give them easy passage into their country of origin. But what if we said to newcomers and the Canadian born, if you're born a Canadian citizen, you can and will only have 1 citizenship, Canadian citizenship. Because I think what we've really failed to understand over the last decade is that the value of Canadian citizenship has appreciated substantially relative to other countries. And I think in the 1970s, when we created our citizenship laws and much of our modern day immigration policy, Canada was deemed a kind of second choice, a consolation prize for not being American. Thankfully, I think we've come a long way from that kind of branch plant, second best psychology to a Canada in 2009 where, in a warming world, this is a pretty good place to be. In a world echoing with the clash of civilizations, this is a pretty peaceful society to live in. In a world racked by this financial crisis, we're seeing the real benefits of a more conservative Canadian approach. Peace, order, and good government maybe actually isn't such a bad thing after all. So I think we've got to understand that the value of Canadian citizenship has appreciated substantially relative to other countries, and as a result of that, we can ask both the Canadian-born and newcomers to focus a bit more on the responsibilities and duties of Canadian citizenship as opposed to what seems like this endless obsession with what our rights and privileges are. Let's swing the pendulum back into the middle.